It's been a total pleasure to work with Madison on this program. We started talking in like September or October of last year. And this was sort of the dream lineup that Madison had expressed. And we're so grateful that we were able to make it happen. Thank you to our co-presenters, Mills College Creative Writing Program and Place for Writers and the Poets and Writers. And in just a moment, I'll invite Stephanie at Mills College to say a few words. But just a very quick overview of the night. I will, after that, Madison will come up and give a brief introduction and context for the thinking around this evening. And then we'll have Ava, and then Never, and then V, and then On, and then Madison will come back and conclude the event. And they will have a lot more to say about all of these writers and just the thinking behind the program. So I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you all for being here again. And Stephanie Young at Mills College, please come up.
Thank you, Sid. Hi, everybody. I'm Stephanie from Mills College. I direct the creative writing program there, and we're so happy to be able to co-sponsor this program. I think I can't wait. I can't wait to be in with these voices and with this work tonight, and feel so much affinity with the ways in which writers in our program are working between and at the edges of disciplines. So, and there's also so many sweet connections in the room tonight. There's I think many long historical relationships between Small Press Traffic and Mills. So as many of you know, Mills is going through a really big transition right now, and we don't know what the future of our programs are going to be exactly. So it feels especially sweet to be together tonight in this way and be able to support the vision of SPT, which is doing such amazing programming. So I would be remiss every minute I can, or every instance I can, to thank the people who make things happen at Mills. Christina Fisher, Brianna, Griffin, and Summer, Sara, and Jazz, thank you for everything you do to make events like this one in the background run and go. So thank you.
And now Madison, we're so excited, and I believe Madison will be talking more about this virtual exhibition that just launched today. It's incredible. A little bit of work from everybody here, and also in commemoration of this amazing book, FREAKOPHONE World, that came out last year on Inside the Castle. So Madison, it's all you.
Okay, hi, thanks, Sid, and thank you, Stephanie. So I guess I don't have too much to say about it. I think you can explore it mostly on your own, but it was definitely a group effort to get things together. But I think that really the person who did most of the work is a recent graduate of UC Santa Cruz named Saul Viejas. We all really appreciate that. So here is the link, by the way, in the chat for the exhibition if you'd like to visit. And I hope you like it. So mostly I'm just going to talk about the other readers and why I invited them to read with me. And I don't have, information necessarily about the books they produced. I'm not going to do that thing. Instead, I just want to talk about what's moving to me about their work. So starting off, I'd actually like to talk a little bit first about Never Angeline North's work. So spanning 4 books, Never Angeline North's serial poem, Sea Witch, when I first read it, was something I wished I could write. Deeply felt, panoramic in scope, splitting open the eye and telling us something new about what it means to be at home in ourselves, under state and patriarchal violence. What type of art object describes this book? To me, Sea Witch stands as an altar, each image bringing the reader closer to the absented object of devotion. But this practice, as she writes, isn't about the body. Of her art-making practice, Never has had this to say. For tattooing, one of the ways I create is by tattooing the design directly on the skin with no prior marks to guide me. This approach necessarily involves a lot of mutual trust and forgiveness of both intentional and unintentional aspects of the ultimate product between the subject and the tattooist. Reading that, I started to think more about the trust it takes letting the poems try out different versions of an I, crossing the I out to let another take its place. Conversely, maybe, I'm reminded of an interview conducted by the writer Brian Evanson with Vicky Now, where she explains that she doesn't get sentimental about the materials, cutting away to bring us closer to the real poem, play, or story. Concerning her process, V writes that her work as an artist engages with issues of inter-aesthetic signification, the translation of ideas between modes, from painting to poetry, from moving image to language, between languages, and elliptical excavations of trauma. Her prose, films, drawings, installations, performances cross fictive and non-fictive boundaries, mining linguistic and cinematic hybridity in the search for forms as capacious as the lives they attempt to render. Immediately, this reminds me of Ava Hofmann's work, which, like all four of these artist poets, is prolifically self-assured. I'm moved by the way Ava's fiercely intelligent writing queers the grammars of the archive and of the book itself, charting a path through its violent documents, she writes, born on currents, affairs. Like the sculptor Brian Detmer, these poems make meaning with the pulpy outlines of language, carving their way out of Ava's rich verbiage like vegetation. Even the periods of the ellipses in her most recent book clamor with their ill justices. Maybe the nearly historical term, hypertext, described more presciently Ava's practice as an artist, since this poet's abundant graphic idiom performs as a shivering patchwork, each poem body a punched out tear where corpses swim, in the poet's words, betwixt pronoun deposits. Ava describes her work as being informed by painters who utilize text, as well as the work of Hannah Wiener, treating the page like a canvas. To my mind, Ava's is a practice that likes to agitate the space between the reader and the text, a quality I think, again, all four of these writers share. Each of these artists presses a finger at the boundaries of the genre they're working in, as if the things they're trying to capture are so resistant and capacious. Disciplinary boundaries must be crossed. In Vicky Now's sheet machine, which turns ekphrasis into a kind of devotional procedure, moments of abstraction in the source film become invitations for associative logic. In that same interview I was talking about earlier, V describes her associative leaps as material-based, or based on the texturality of our reality and lived experiences. And I think there are similar material textural leaps in the writing and video art of Duplan, which tightens the strap between the art object and art criticism. In Black Space, his book of poetry and prose, Anne also works with films, but shows us what happens when multiple layers of sensory information, framing, color palettes, and voice work interlock or are flattened by language. I guess what I'm trying to say is that all of these writers, as with my own book, share a deep attention to materials, are generically volatile, and maybe like the new narrative writer Kathy Acker or the Fluxus artists of the 1960s, they've also each helped me in one way or another articulate my writing practice to myself. And so for anyone who doesn't know their work, I hope this might do something similar for you. Thank you.
All right, and I guess that means I'm up. Hi, I'm Ava. I don't want to do too much of an introduction, but just like book-wise, right? First book, Bracket Ellipsis Bracket, is out on Astrophil Press. And literally next week on the 24th, my book with Inside the Castle, poem/smallest studies is coming out. I'm now going to put on a cardboard mask and start reading. So I will now screen, and it's just going to be an absolute chaos mess. It's going to be great. Sorry, computer nightmare world. There it is. Okay. And okay. Okay. Let me sorry, get this at a reasonable size. And now I'm gonna take off my headphones and put on the mask. And the poem is from Bracket, and the rest are from the new book. I found a hole in the archives page and slipped my finger through it whole, feeling the edge of the vellum soft when nothing revealed themselves to me. Nothing had a hole in their head. The hole in the vellum was an open mouth, where their holes were holes lacked, and the hole in them was a hole in me. And the lacuna bit me dainty soft, and I lacked a dainty soft, or blood was in nothing's girly mouth. The wound their manly grin, where I wounded the archive with my probing finger, fucking the page, and I bit myself, or nothing, or the page. And there's a mouth in my mouth, and wistful pet, a hole in my vellum, or I was a hole in nothing, a hollowed out wound, a vile, tender touch, blood in my hole, biting and history. Someone said I desire what I can't, but I ever didn't not want anything save nothing to reach through the gap in my record book to a ghost's face like a mirror. But I am too tired to be talking to you about how nothing makes me whole. Soon enough, nothing and history will be sameness, and me too, and the vellum and the cities, money, symbols, might, all void. Weakness wins. And I am nothing if not weak, am nothing if not nothing. May I speak? May I speak? My whole page is with neither nothing, nothing. May I? May speak it? Speak? I am a good transgender. I'm a celibate slut. I do and do not like drag. I look entirely like this person, but not too entirely. I am firm about my identity, but not unchill. I have whatever politics you have. I've never done anything you would ever dislike. I will happily answer all the prime questions you really should keep to yourself. I am brave and should be pitied, especially when I ask for the money I comfortably lack due to, of course, my heroic and or tragic gender journey. I am very knowledgeable about gender and will make you feel about yours. Around me, you will never have to address comfort you feel about my transness or your cisness. I am the right amount transphobic. Thought on cuneiforms of genderedness, trans, future, past. I said clock in very pretty way that's prolonged for geologic time. Homo future, I only lived a little while on this strong place. I lived and changed, hoped for a world after I'm gone. Something about castration, insert tranny bias, rebellion, revolt. I will insurrect the margins of hit crossed out, her crossed out, hit dicks, or gotta overthrow. I can't actually. I was walking down the street when I ran into my gender. My gender is very solid. It is, in fact, a brick wall. It springs up before me like a slapstick cartoon trap. I'm a slapstick cartoon trap. I am a cartoon character with simple and reasonable goals. But as always, my gender thwarts me. It springs up solid as ever for me to crash into in my moments of despair. And when it happens in the classroom or flying to jobs or in the middle of broad daylight, I can be turned into a flat pancakey thing for you, my cis audience crossed out socio-cultural substrate. I slam into my wall and crack my teeth open. I slam into my wall and you get to see my brain guts. My brain guts aren't poetry. No, the poetry isn't part of the metaphor. I can't do this anymore. I am a sad way of being 33. I am, quoth my enemies, a collection of inconvenient objects. 33, 33, 33. I, New York bootlickers, I rural trash. Me stalks with contempt for thee. And Chris Rod Bro, awkward Ohio landlord, Leechman, I forcibly redistribute your so-called property there. There is nothing you can do to stop it. Long poem, 300 feet. 9 ideas, things are all trash. Idea culture, implement bad art utopia, undo unundoings, cosmically speaking, all study discipline rots into fragments. I want only the broken bits of the yes, trash, 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 cross out, not bad enough. Bimbo of Cy Twombly kisses me to death, stain, bad art utopia, someone unruly. Fuck you, me, I am the little bitch, please stop with your murder gaze. I am a mirror, a cute authoritarian, but I will not let me be a bootlicker to my desires. I won't pretend this of us isn't me being you, using you to hate, yes, myself. I am playing the victim, even if I am your, even though you ruined, crossed out some things, so much of I cannot live like this. I can't blame you. I need me alive. My gender, again, was an obstruction session with videos, trans women, talking about their little lives. 0 likes, weird, 0 dislikes, little vids, please ignore. Fetish emotion, or mundane, sex, fantasy, parameter like cooking, clickbaiteds, as sad, don't, that crossed out, mination, I've stopped making sense, or like getting not murdered. It was desire for the inaccessible physicality of things, crossed out, too profound. Gender dysphoria, a sense of reality, means the object, crossed out, objective, and less real in on the framing of 6 billion trannies and cis planet queer death, and not bad ideas. Somatobio nonfictions proliferate in mine anti-postis representation. I will kill the president of the Rotary Club. Advertisement. One day I realized I could just come out. Is Marcel Duchamp transgender evidence? And that's the end. Thanks, everyone. Hope that was good.
So I guess it's me now. Should I just go? Cool. Hi everyone. I'm Never Angeline North, which you know because you can see my name at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to be reading from my book Sea Witch, which I have here. It's a big fat book. It's got a lot of pictures in it. It's got a lot of drawings, a lot of scribbles, some nudes, if I can't sell books by putting my tits and asshole in it, I don't know how to sell books. So yeah, this first one I'm gonna read is the piece that was sort of the initiation of this project. I wrote it in 2015, and I'm just gonna dive in. I'm just gonna dive on it. Sea Witch 1 and 2. When I was living in Sea Witch, the sand held me on bright mornings. Small walls of it pressed on my sides and back, and I pressed small walls of it in return with each breath. Species unfamiliar with Sea Witch should know 3 things about her. 1, She's a monster, and this would always be in the case in a world that had created the idea of monsters to use to describe things like her. 2, she cries at TV shows about other monsters. 3, long periods of time can pass when no one tells you that you are worthwhile, and long periods of time can pass when you don't understand the words of those who are telling you. It is difficult to know the difference. When I was living in Seawitch, I was also a monster. When I was living in Seawitch, I saw a TV show about a little girl who put her dolls in a duffel bag with 2 sandwiches in case of an emergency. The girl's mother worried about her when she found this bag because she knew her daughter would someday run away. This was not what the girl pictured when she made the bag, but it was what she ended up using it for. The mother did not confront her daughter about it because she knew her daughter was a monster, and she knew that real monsters have no mothers. When I was living in Seawitch, I got this TV show tattooed on my arms and hands because it explained my life to others who wondered why I would live in a place like Seawitch. When I was living in Seawitch, sleep came when it did and disappeared later, and hunger was similar. There's no cause and effect in Seawitch, and everything happens at once. I was born in Seawitch, even though I wasn't, and I'm still in Seawitch, even though I'm not. When I was living in Seawitch, people murdered her every day. Monsters exist to be slain, which is a word for murder that's mostly used for monsters. When I was living in Seawitch, I had more friends, all of whom lived in Seawitches of their own. In Seawitch, we have a kind of involuntary prayer called crying, where the sea comes from your eyes, which are the places you receive light in order to understand it. When I was living in Seawitch, I never understood light, and I still don't. This hasn't changed about me. When I was living in Seawitch, I wrote a poem that everyone in Seawitch loved. I won't tell you which one because it doesn't matter which one. Think of any one of them, and that's the one. When I was living in Seawitch, I put a sign above the entrance that said, "There is a dead thing between my legs, and I am naming myself Sara." I spent the rest of the day pushing crows underwater. You do not get to come to Seawitch. I will never let you in. So, that's the first one. And I'm going to go into read the second piece, which is more towards the back of the book. We're getting deeper in at this point. And at this point, a number of characters have been introduced. And amongst those characters, there's a witch god named Dog Witch, and Dog Witch had many sisters, and there's a whole pantheon of these witch gods, and so we get stories about all of the witch gods. And this is the stories of God Witch and Airless Face Witch. And it's called Bone Death Excrement. God Witch and Airless Face Witch are twins. They're deformed like monsters because they're monsters, but they're beautiful like gods because they're gods. In this scene, they're walking down a path in the middle of a forest, in the middle of who knows where. They don't remember how they got there because the sacraments they took make them bad at remembering things like this. They're wearing tiny shirts that show their bellies and underwear without pants. When they walk, their beautiful sweat-covered legs whisper through the grass. Insects bite their ankles, and with each bite, the twins pray to their gods and all of their friends. These prayers are wordless, but express thankfulness in some form because the bugs are gods and the flesh is a holy offering, or At least this is how it seems to them in the moment, because they're super fucked up on sacraments. They arrive in a clearing where there are two adorable monsters having a picnic. One of them is super tall, dark skin, dark eyes, dark hair. All of the magic is in her. The other's formless. The other's a ghost. The other's a cloud of vapor. The other's a swarm of wasps. Godwitch gets super turned on by this swarm of wasps, and so she sits down against a tree, spreading her legs and taking her cock out and pissing all over herself. Her clothes smell like piss, and the wasps come to her, stinging her cock and her face and her curvy ass and her soft asshole as she spreads her legs up into the air above her. Her junk's all hairy and sweaty and covered in piss, and she comes super fast. While this happens, Airless Face Witch and the first monster, whose name is Signet, they stand around awkwardly. It's super weird. So they decide to give Godwitch and the wasp some space. They take a walk. They talk about their friends. They talk about their relationships to other people in their lives. Airless Face Witch says that things between her and Godwitch are hard to understand. She says they used to do everything together and there was just like no questions about it, but lately things have been difficult. She says it feels like everything is on fast forward and she can't seem to adapt. Like, Godwitch joined this sex cult recently where they all get together and have like super steamy hot sex with each other like all the fucking time. And she's always talking about this sex cult. Airless Face Witch is like pretty down for sex cults. But like she tried to go there to the building where the sex cult was, and the door was this enormous puzzle. She couldn't figure out how it worked. She tried for a little bit to figure it out and got tired and fell asleep on the porch. And then hours later, Godwitch came out all sexed up and was like, holy shit, that was hot. And Airless Face Witch was like, oh, sweet, I'm glad you had a good time. I don't know, Airless Face Witch said. Signet listened to all of this and nodded along quietly. When Airless Face Witch was done, Signet told her a story. The story had no arc. In Signet's story, things just happened and then stopped happening. There didn't seem to be any connection between the pieces in the story, except that the same names were mentioned. The concrete details of the story seemed blatantly false. Parts were overly obvious. There was one part with the sex cult, but the sex cult was a branch on a tree that was blown into the ocean. The ocean took the branch far away. The ocean fell away from the branch, and the branch was suspended a non-matter. Time backed up and moved forward arbitrarily, sped up and slowed down. The story never ended. The story was all endings. It ended 20, 30 times. Airless Face Witch wrote a blog about this story while it was happening, you know, like recapping different episodes. The blog became very popular. And then the blogging platform it was on fell into disuse. Nobody reads blogs anymore. Then it never happened. We move in and out of the story like a summer child in the wrong swimsuit, diving, climbing out, diving, climbing out. This child never gets tired. Signet changes clothes. Airless Face Witch changes clothes. They both change clothes. They take off their clothes and put on each other's clothes. They forget whose are whose. They move in. They fall in love. They have a relationship that lasts 2 years and then gets complicated. One of them wants to see other people. One of them becomes a rat. One of them doesn't want to date a rat anymore. They forget which one is a rat. I forget which one is a rat. It isn't clear which one is a rat. They see the bodies of people they have never met being torn limb from limb in a void made of 1,000-mile-per-hour winds that blow in all directions. They cry for their relationship. They cry for the end of the story. The end of the story never comes. They both become a rat. They become half of the same rat. They live in the walls of the story. They eat the insulation. They eat the insulation. The story gets colder without insulation. The atoms that make up the story grow more still than ever. The atoms that make up the story are harmless. The atoms that make up the story try on their sister's clothes when no one is home. They panic when they hear the garage door. They never get caught. The atoms that make up the story never get caught. They come out at 29. Their first marriage was a fucking mess. They made a mess of a lot of things, some of which had to do with that marriage, but most of which were about other things. It's too fast. It's all too fast. The story's falling with no destination. It falls and falls in an arc around a spherical surface that turns at a rate which matches the story's falling. Gravity is immense. The falling happens too fast. Things fall past the story, and the story just barely keeps up. It does the things it needs to do to live a life, but just fucking barely. It misses a few, but mostly it gets it. It all moves by so fast. It needs a second to rest. The story needs to end. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. So I'm going to read samples of a bit of my books. I'm going to read one line from Waiting for God, my play. This is from The Voice of Eloquence. This play is about two friends waiting for God besides an X-ray cum time machine, eating invisible shirts and speaking into their bras like megaphones. They are joined in their theological vigil by a man named after a vegetable, and a narcoleptic goat who might just be God. Welcome to the sixth dimension of time, a place where cartoon physics rules and the stage collapses into the page. Body, soul into fiction. Samuel Beckett switched places with Sarah Kane. Welcome to Waiting for God, a realm where the laws of literature are superseded by Apocrypha's fever stream. I'll read one line since this required two people to read, and so I'll read one line. Oh, Hera is so devious. I hope that excited you into getting the book. I'm going to read from FREAKOPHONE. It's a poetry collection that's coming in April from Blacks and Lit. They published my poetry collection called Sheet Machine. Anyway, thank you, Madison, for creating this wonderful curations of artists and poets. I feel like I'm in a gallery of some kind. I'm not sure if it's a digital gallery, maybe something else. Okay, Abyss. Walking her naked, they are walking her to the outer edge, where water meets delirium. Where they toss her into the boat, they toss another naked man in with her. Before tossing him, they tell him, "You may rape her now, brother." Of course he rapes her, but before then, in the dark, they roll the boats in sand where the two plunge sideways, tossing like those of rows of dice. His penis bounces against her body like a stick against a drum. Before he rapes her, before they nail the lid off the boat like a coffin, they nail and nail and nail. They flip the boat so the hole is pressed, dug into sand. They keep on pounding away, pounding. She fears the nails may rape her, impale her to the edge of their dreams, to the edge of their violence, to the edge of his sunset, where she suffocates, where he suffocates while still inside her, where the darkness transfixes her silhouette to a star stamped at the bottom of her butthole. Her blood is a silhouette, a star stillborn. Their violence is a hut lit on fire. To delineate, to define her mouth, which is the center of whole volition. Then I'm going to read one poem from my collection called Bell Curve. It's a pregnant straight line. It's a poem called Cashews. I was sleeping so deeply until 3 bags of cashew, pumpkin seeds, and almond all climb up on my bed to sneeze and crack up their unbalanced, nutty psychotic jokes on the nature of same-sex videotaping and same-sex lubricants, carnal butters to massage onto the bony asses of cashews. I prefer the genetic name for tree climbing in same-sex marriage. I prefer the prefix for 30 grams of salt. I could lick anything off that hemp flower which you idolize, which you call your own rich source of protein. Love me processed, love me with just enough anacardic acids, love me until I see our personal dermatologist for my rash. In one video, your lips were so full, take my glass of water from our nightstand and empty it out to make room for your saliva, for your sweet mouth which abducts my geraniums in the middle of the night. I'm saturated in ether. I long to breathe while holding an aquarium near you. I long for the three girls to tie their plastic hair together, to sit quintessently on the edge of a lake, to wait for them to fall over, to listen while they drown. Okay, and I'm going to read one more. It's from my novel, Swimming with Death Star, that's coming out in 4 days. So if you like what I read, you might want to get a copy. If you don't like what I read, you should get a copy anyways. It's fishy. How can anyone not like fish? Anyway, okay. This is from page 94 of my novel. The best part of the morning at the Airbnb for Madone was the 11 chickens who wobble out their 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot shadow boxes, 1 box per chicken, concave into the walls of the house throughout. She called those 11 chickens her Gallus football team. When they all move in form in their domesticated offensive positions, they make killer moves, especially the wide receiver, Jerry Rice. 3 shadow boxes were affixed to the living room, 8 of them in the kitchen. In the morning, the chickens mutely crowed from their saddle boxes, leaped from their open white cages and squatted in the kitchen, where the hens dropped half a dozen eggs or so from their impeccable asses. In the evening, these domestic fowls returned to their open cages like inmates from the Louisiana State Penitentiary, and with their heads down and their episodic shows institutionalized by sleep and boredom. Sometime Madone felt moved by the maternal heliotropic desire to have an edible sun in her mouth. She would crack these free-range domestic eggs into the frying pan for breakfast. Most of the time, though, she watched the gregarious eggs roll about before settling in an aquarium of tranquility. Once in a while, waiting for Neptune to wake up, Madone watched the neighborhood children bouncing a soccer ball on their wooden deck near a solo white plastic chair, while the sun sprawled out on the front lawn like a thin sweater. The soccer ball echoed with each bounce, and the incubated noise followed by the hollow voice of the cement made Madone think of a spy secretly listening on of a conversation through a net full of hay. Inside a purse of time, a wallet of desire awaited her, but all Madone wanted to do was throw this purse into a convict lake where she could not be able to find it ever again. She stretched her legs on the sofa and studied her quarterback, her bewitching hen Aaron Rodgers, born in Chico, California, who was wobbling about the living room like a sumo wrestler. Her feathery head was a tangled ribbon of red, refulgent light, and her wizened gullet was beguilingly weather-beaten. Anyway, that's it. Thank you, Small Traffic Press and Mills College and Madison and my co-readers for joining this reading party, gallery party with me.
Go now. Hi everyone, I'm on, and it's nice to be here with you all in the digital space, and many congratulations to Madison on this beautiful event and your beautiful collection. And I'm honored to share space with the other poets tonight. And thanks to Sid and the Mills College gang for organizing. So I'm gonna, I think, be pretty piecemeal tonight and read just from like a lot of different things, starting with a poem that I wrote for the playwright Dave Harris, who invited me to see his play Tambo and Bones, which is about these two Black men who try to they do all sorts of things, but mainly try to navigate capitalism. We all earned our freedoms by giving concerts. We were encamped on a bank high enough to where we saw the full thickness of the ground sewn up, cleared out of its large canes. Our escape we planned to some lampooning darkness, our buffoonery, mysticism, happiness, and luck, the pleasures of the grotesque of abandonment, a kind of romance exaggerated into Black life, a cheerful, enslaved readiness, a dance pleasing to master minstrels, a romance carrying on between mothers and a son thought dead in Alabama. We all earned our freedoms by giving concerts, by acting spontaneously, naturally, all seized up by our willingness to be as darky as he be at home, as darky as he be in life, in the cornfield and the cane breaks, rivers and floodplains, its valleys lapping along the wet edges of the waters that early settlers crossed over into indigenous attack on boats built like floating fires with heavily barred windows, small sliding shutters, walls pierced through with glory holes. There were guns fired and performers stained in character up off the stage, dressed up in slaveness, that perpetual smiling of Jim Crows and gumbo chaffs, fighting, boasting, characteristically animal, bleeding like wolves, having drunk ourselves full of ink to where we got sickened and had to restore the color. We were inherently musical for frolicking through night without no need for sleeping, ignorant of pain, poorly spoken for, having been shot up like balloons waiting on the world below to turn. The musics we hear jangle our nerves, musics of those believed Black, prosperous musics, respected, polished up romantic tunes with recognizable attitudes, our vigorous teeth slapping footworks. I'm reeling from these songs, first called Plantation Men, then Ethiopian Serenaders. Ineffable blackness gives way to jealousy as one who is himself living. Religion is the beauty of his own person, is darkly himself, googly-eyed with pink, red, white teeths. Goodness gracious, the gentlemen, the brothers named Tambo and Bones, in each other's joking arms, floating on a skiff in old Virginia, working from day to day, raking oyster beds. To them, it's just playfulness, but now they grown old, can't work no more. Carry them back to shore. They'd choose another life this time. They'd save their coin this time, buy a farm somewhere. But now it hits them tight in their limbs, grown sore. Carry them back after they jumps from their skiff down into the river, catching in their mouths as many catfish as ever a nigger has seen, a circus of catfish, acrobatic fish, bareback, lovers in dripping garb. We'll stay on this theme of poems written about others' work. It's a mood I've been in for like 4 years. And yeah. Martine Sims, Incense, Sweaters, and Ice, 2017, 1 hour, 9 minutes. You are a human being at the club, driving, texting. You are a nurse in Vegas and enjoyed it. Who are you? What your name is up in the bathroom, the black body routine in front of the mirror, the voice of Eartha Kitt. There's no races, class, style, refinement, eye contact, elegance, and glamour can get you anywhere about being an animal lover, but also to hunt in her living room, on TV, someone, a bus driver who saved someone, people eating around a body, be more in touch with the body. The wind and body are no longer distinct. The body mind looks straight ahead when walking down the street. A voice can speak for herself. She can say no and doesn't speak for others. How powerful people act. They erect. Powerless people make themselves small. It's a good idea to try to come across as more powerful. LOL. Am I ever gonna see you again or just texts? You're gonna cry when I'm gone, and it won't be long since feelings are physiology. I feel touched and I'm crying in the club. Keep in touch. How are people responding to you as you change? Sandra Perry, Black Cloud, 2010, 24 minutes, 39 seconds. Struggling for air, dying. He is nearly all darkness, bubbles clinging to his hair. He is trying to shake the water from the surface of his body from underwater. Desperation? What is the state he returns to? Like a coral reef, the cloudy, chalky smoke seems to stick to him like it's pulled toward him and into him. And each time the opening of the eyes, it's as though Till is shaking from the dirt. An extreme one? This poem is about the Black Brigade of Cincinnati, which, as I understand it, was the only all Black unit in the Civil War. And Joseph Johns is the name of someone who was in that unit. Beyond that, this really has nothing to do with the Black Brigade, but you'll see. An Ode to the Black Brigade of Cincinnati, 1862. When Joseph Johns flies to a site where thousands of honeybees may be waiting, he mates with several males in flight. A male honeybee mounts Joseph and inserts his endophallus, ejaculating. After ejaculating, the male honeybee pulls away from Joseph, though his endophallus is ripped from his body. Why didn't you pick up the phone? The next male honeybee to mate with Joseph removes the previous endophallus and eventually loses his own after ejaculation. Male honeybees are only able to mate 7 to 10 times during a mating flight. I never meant to hurt you. After mating, the honeybee dies quickly as his abdomen explodes when the phallus is lost. Even honeybees that survive the mating flight are ejected from their nests as they have served their only purpose by mating. Joseph Johns mates early in his life and only attends one mating flight. After several matings, Joseph stores 100 million sperm in his oviducts. It's just that I don't know how to love. If Joseph runs out of sperm in his lifetime, new generations of Josephs will mate and produce their own colonies. Joseph Johns controls the sex of his offspring. As eggs pass through the ovary to the oviduct, Joseph knows whether an egg is fertilized or not. Teach me, Joseph, how to love. Unfertilized eggs become honeybees, while fertilized eggs become honeybees and honeybees. Joseph Johns lays his eggs in oval-shaped cells which stick to the nest ceiling. I promise to be true to you. Drones fill these cells with royal jelly to stop the larvae from falling. Soon-to-be drones eat royal jelly for the first 2 days, while soon-to-be Josephs eat jelly for all the days to come. I promise to be true to you. Joseph, who spends his time laying eggs inside the hive, could live for several eons. Workers who labor during the busy seasons cannot survive as long. I'll end on this one. I stole the title of this poem from the title of a song by Dean Blunt. And then she said, I need to tell you something and don't hate me for it. Last night there was love pandering outside my heart's door like jungle music. Who can say what time the cops came? I guess I just mean it confused me the way you came hunting, and I knew exactly which Lord would take me. I thought about being a child, nothing better, nothing worse. I thought I could mind control the situation, but there was a shark in the water last night and love had fallen out of my body, had been forcibly ejected. I had tried to speak something about my mother. It was like being something that doesn't have any limbs. Over and over, I had to ask myself about the words I was using and if those words were, in fact, killing people. Okay. Thanks, y'all. I'm excited to hear you read, Madison.
I think I'm the last reader. Thank you, Hofmann, for reading. Am I the last reader, Sid? Thank you, everyone, for coming. And thanks to the readers. Those were all really, really incredible. So, okay. I'm going to read from FREAKOPHONE WORLD. And okay. From FREAKOPHONE WORLD. I was living, text to breach, this anti-thread just now glistening in the invisible, stressing out, this chalky light behind the moon. Hey, Baldy, when no one's watching, fire it up, open tongue, rolling in, future paced, I speak inside. Tell me, Oracle, does it smell? Proto-jelly dripping on the spitting wall, glossonite and terravert in my little pearl, lidless like. Are you still here? Nuisance, pest, silence like a cut tongue. Get your own. Postboy says, I'm a red, wet, ghostly, nose hair strung, with a needle between the ears. This passage between us, stop. Put your finger here, stop. Feel that? Flash burn, I bend my voice through, make contact, night's first pink pinch, an umbilicus takes shape in, a braid worse, a braid verse, a word, one single word. I speak inside never, taking a hint or getting a job. Sleepy little pickaninny, in dark matter, in mule matter, in you who matter most. Ash body floating belly up in the same ooze this hypoglossal tongue steeps inside. Forget it. I just need to eat something. Whatever happens, doesn't happen. In a vacuum, still wet well, you run your tongue along. Let me show you. Everything I do for the meal. Lit match we flick inside. Eyes on me. This clump of hair phosphorescing, in morn mud, spazzing leaf work. Wave so I can see you. I am hiding in a protest of embryonic fluid when this rando Dodge Charger penetrates our black goo, punishing itself and not for the first time. My head floats off where I am not dead, sprouting these pappus fronds. You didn't know, but I've already forgiven you. In a blackened twist of superfluid you look into, lowly pupil, dilating like a sphincter, forgives like my heron body lifts its neck to the mosquito haze squint of this morning, and forever I take my oily forgiveness cloud for a walk. Behind my eyes, the bridge man in a plastic parka hunches so his skin folds droop. I spit my oily rain, straight from the sky's larynx, but he is one who is all fold and no hole. If I look long enough, it'll be you, falling in love with the world. Because the rose madder sears into the forehead, this translucent chub poking through, my spook smear, spook scape your hair stands up on. When the shimmer flap of everything breaks, my million hydrophobic heads twinkle at the threshold of the infraspook. I bet you think every winking spook hole cares what you do, where you go, that the violence of this voice has a body, scraped or unscraped clam, and it's true. When I am gone, and these fiber optics still ignite, as an ad for Nike, what then? My gamma tendrils spreading over the hills like a klepto. I wasn't looking to be saved when the maple sprouts shoot through a slit in the page so my eyes can hatch in a village along the tree line's polychrome shimmer. I scrape myself out of the velvet pram in the glade chaff where this child corpse deposits its mineral ring before falling. I hop a fence and core the photoplasm from the book like the purest cut of factory black for a thimble breath of darkness outside the sentence. I lift the veil so my nematode sprouts can get a whiff of empire. When the first solar rose repeats in the hillside's optic nerve, we wring the image from the model like a die and chew on its viscera. In the striped brain, that plush polyp quaking in the corner, you can call him Rabbit, and this dog body lays a gimp leg against our monitor to rest, which tickles like a rumor. The white latex sky sucks up, my ghost folding shut behind me. I know better, but my coding says I'm attracted to the black light. Like you, when I hear the voices, scratched out of a village twerp, but continue to chew the wheat cake of empire. I hang my snout, low with the look of a drywood spigot. In the hyperstrife, this humble roach likes to scree in its concave grove, where my forest cock raises its mossy neck, its cleft chin suddenly so concerned about the world, already searching splat in the satellite dust, instead of here and here in the ream, ecology where we hurt the most. The rack master soaks his feet in our vine paste, and our sprouts huddle under his translucent spit dangle. By spookfall, it's a fern dangle. our Tartaric beaks wailing in the finchweed. A light blinks in my septum when I am wanted in the plasticine field. Waking, we are not the same, child extracted from the root prism, when together the alloyed genitals shoot, the pain secretes, an emerald curving geometric feeling, the floodlights dissimulate, in rushes of figuration breaking apart like, in our nest, the ammo lobe we call commander kisses, our cordite casings so, we feel wanted before leaving at dawn, to drop our bullet pupae at the feet of the missile chief, to split the gate of the 7-house village before loading its excretion to the returner body. You didn't know we could get here together. Sometimes me, sometimes a zero dark twerk above the furrows of the silicone field, where we blank the roads, blank the distance, blank blank, the tile patch twisting in the yard, blank blank, the light winking shut in the riverwood filigree, blank blank, up above, but making the ammo lobe very angry. Our drone sound tears through the surface of the page. We didn't know. We needed each other. But years go by, and still we track through the empire circuit, the same conifer, the same obelisk. When I can't stop you from seeing me this way, our glands sew the silicone into a cord. You can pull if you need a meal, if you need anything. Sometimes me, sometimes you, inside us, together. Do I have time for one more? Okay. My antigens pluck a bullet from the deep and spread their insurgency of yellow on the stone, on the spook prism pulsing in the snowdrift, where you just were moments ago, when the spook worms raise their necks from the dockwood's natal stain. I wiggle myself out from the hem's horizon and burrow with an intensity that frightens me. When a spook prism swims into the albumen of day, the hive drone putes before descending to deliver the municipal spanking. And I'm not embarrassed. Watching the hive swarm finally light the umbilicus of their lives to navigate the dark. As the dark, my boy clit swells into a jackfruit's violet, pulsing with transmissions from the hyperstrife. And this is coming from the boy clit. When I forget my name, I squat, lapping at the skull's inner dish, enough ghosts in medieval red to feed an invasion for a day. In a pinch, make an incision and expose the whole wound matrix to the empire like a locoglyph. Like on your world, this is a feeling 100% compliant with the Toad Lord's wishes. When I submit to the drone, war in the tender reticulum of my body, will you hold me? Or lean into the freshest path the bullet splits? The boy stabbing in the cortical pool isn't the worst violence imprinted in the cell. I shit into the palm of my captor and puke into the altar of the word. I no longer mourn the lives dispossessed of me. Any birds you can call are spit, receding through the window's open flame and up into our oil, whose job is to worry about everything. Light us up or do not. Wash us into the street with a hose or do not. There's no bigger world than this sound, the blue flap of what I am, flickering in the lantern wax. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madison. Thank you so much to all of the readers. I am stepping in to say thank you on behalf of Sid, whose computer is totally frozen. It's not allowing anything to be said or typed or anything. So Sid, good job with your hands. Sorry, Zoom is being so impossible, but this has been amazing. I think the chat is registering what a remarkable night tonight has been. I've been like over a little bit in the exhibit while listening, and this feels like such a full experience. It's been pretty fucking remarkable. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to all of the readers. So glad to get to be together tonight.